In this slide, we're sharing a sample timeline with you, which will be an example of how a leadership team self-assessment might work. And in this case, we're actually going to see that the self-assessment will also link to the superintendent evaluation, just as an example. But in this scenario, the leadership team, which is a board member, superintendent, and selected executive staff, would take the self-assessment. Then they would gather the feedback from that, look at the different ratings board members gave it, and in June, the board would discuss and develop an action and training plan for improvement. What are some areas that came out of the self-assessment that the board looked like they were performing at a high level? What are some areas where there were some challenges, gaps, and areas the board needed to improve? And again, at the June meeting, develop an action plan and perhaps even some training for the board in the areas that they needed to improve. Take it a step further in this scenario. The board in July would then evaluate the superintendent, and they would also begin work on the development of the next year's superintendent evaluation. So while the board is evaluating the superintendent for the previous year, what comes out of that evaluation are areas that perhaps the board and superintendent want to agree need to go into the superintendent's evaluation for the next year. And then the final piece of this timeline, in August, the board and superintendent collaborate, finalize the superintendent evaluation instrument for the current year. Again, this is just an example of scenario where you see the self-assessment being a key piece for the board developing an action and training plan, and you also see how it could also link and assist the board in supporting the superintendent in assessing the superintendent, as well as developing the instrument for the superintendent for the next year.